I've cranked up the shiny odds in Pokemon FireRed and LeafGreen, boosting them from a mind-corroding 1 in 8,192 to a much friendlier 1 in 500. The goal? To beat a hardcore Nuzlocke with only sparkly Pokemon. And if you're wondering what a hardcore Nuzlocke is, well, Google it. Alright, now that we're all on the same page, let's dive in. Our adventure starts like any other, in a town, if you can call 3 buildings and a puddle a town. I guess it fits the description if you squint a little. After a very quick goodbye to Mumsy, I'm ready to wrestle a Rattata with my bare hands. But before I get the chance, a professor intervenes and drags me to his lab where I get to choose my very own Pokemon partner. Now, this would normally be the easiest part of the game. Pick a starter and get going. However, things are about to get a little bit pickly. We need a shiny, so it's time to save, reset, and get to grinding. Now, considering the severe lack of early fire types, I'm going with Charmander for this run. And so after countless hours of button mashing, resetting, and a healthy dose of dissociation, we finally score our prize. Ah, finally! Yes! So I took my new partner, who I named Sasuke, and get this, actually continued the game. Wild, I know. With Sasuke by my side, the first task was to fetch a package for Professor Oak and get my hands on some bottles, which then meant that we could finally hunt down our first wild shiny Pokemon. Our first recruit ended up being a Pidgey, which, well, let's just say it doesn't exactly help with our type disadvantage for Gym 1. I named it Howl and headed off to Route 2. Now, rather than charging in, I figured it would be smart to stack the team a bit more. Overkill? Absolutely not. Brock's rocking rock types and our current lineup is primed to get rocked. Honestly, catching Rattata was probably the best thing that could have happened with the limited options early on. I mean, do you know what? It's not that bad. So I called our new pal Totoro and set foot into Viridian Forest, where I decided to stop yet again and try for one last member before we tackle the gym challenge. Now, even with the boosted shiny odds, this hunt took forever. I spent ages running back and forth in Viridian, practically moving in, but eventually, our persistence paid off. Oh my god, it's a Caterpie, bro. How am I gonna beat Brock? Great, another Pokemon weak to Brock's rocks. Fantastic. I named the Caterpie Giro and then trained everyone to the level cap. And along the way, to add some salt to the wounds, Giro evolved into a Metapod and then into a Butterfree, making it even more weak to rock. Awesome. Just awesome. Now, Brock has 2 Pokemon, one of the best and one of the worst. Looking at you, Geodude and Onix, respectively. But here's my dilemma. How are we actually gonna win this? I mean, we're up against the guy who exclusively trains rock and ground types. And yet the answer is hilariously simple. He somehow didn't bother teaching them ground moves, and beyond that, his team only has one rock move, and it's on Onix. To put this into perspective, Onix, a literal snake made of boulders, has a lesser physical attack than an Oddish. That's right, I've been shiny hunting and preparing for this long for basically no reason. But hey, now that we've caught everything we physically can per Nuzlocke rules, it's time. We strut into Pewter City Gym and demand a battle. But first, this video has been made possible by my friends over at Raid Shadow Legends. It's available to play on mobile, PC, and Mac. Hear me out, if you're in the market for a new game to play, I'm telling you, Raid's got you. And if you're a chronic procrastinator, then you will enjoy this just as much as I do. Completing quests and challenges will help you level up faster, and you'll get the hang of the game mechanics in no time. With the new changes they've brought to the table, there hasn't been a better time to get stuck in. There's now literally over 800 different champions, all with their own unique playstyles and stuff. The tactics and teams that you can put together in this game are pretty much never ending, so I mean, it'll be pretty freaking hard to get bored. But right, the fastest way of getting your hands on these champions is by opening shards, and I convinced the big boss over at Raid Shadow Legends to let me open some. So let's see what I get. Oh my god, who's this guy? What is your chin? You need to go to the doctor, mate. Yo! She's hot. Who's it? Delver? Is that good? Oh my god, what are you holding? My guy's called Cormac the High Peak. Your antlers are nuts. Bro, Shu Zen is the coolest that I pulled from these shards. I mean, look at her. She's a really cool character, but also her abilities are nuts. Purging Petals literally grant one of my allies 50% increased attack, 30% increased crit rate, and 30% increased crit damage. So she's gonna be carrying me from now on. Nekmo Thar as well. He's freaking sick. All of his abilities nerf your opponent to oblivion, making boss battles just a smidge easier. Also, look at this guy, man. Dual-wielding assassin lizard wearing a skirt. Brother, I am telling you, this game is so much fun. I've even started a clan that you guys can come and join. It's called the Cabbage Society, and hear me out. Use my link in the description of this video to download the game, and you'll be helping me out more than you know. And you'll be helping yourself, because if you use my link, you'll get a bunch of free stuff to launch your journey, and when you hit rank 25, you'll get even more, amounting to over $60 worth of free stuff. Also, I'm jealous because new players can get a free Sun Wukong by using the promo code Monkey King, and I never got that. Now that you've done that, let's get back to the video. Brock opens up with a Geodude, and I confidently send out Giro the Butterfree, fully aware that Geodude can't hit us with any rock moves. Giro hits a Confusion, dropping Geodude to half health, while Geodude fires back with Defense Curl. But since Confusion's a special attack, another one finishes the job. Then Onix rocks onto the battlefield, literally. Instead of switching, I go straight for Stun Spore, and it actually lands. However, Onix retaliates with that freaking rock tomb I was scared of, and Giro, the absolute hero, tanks it on just 5 HP. Now, I know Onix has the attack power of a memory foam pillow, but to survive a quad effective hit is nothing short of miraculous. To keep Giro safe, I switched over to Totoro the Rattata Rattata, who on the Switch takes 12 damage from a Rock Tomb and loses a bit of speed. Now, knowing that Totoro can't survive a crit, I decided to risk it for a Tail Whip to soften Onix up for the rest of the team. And we get lucky because Onix gets full powered. I throw in another Tail Whip and Onix gets full powered again. By now, Onix's defense is nice and low, but Totoro finally takes another Rock Tomb, dropping him to just 10 HP. So it's time to bring in Sasuke. On the Switch, Onix misses its Rock Tomb. Our Geodude must be smiling down at me. Sasuke lands a Metal Claw, which does just under half, even with Onix's defense reduced by 3 stages. But then Onix misses its Rock Tomb again. One more Metal Claw leaves Onix hanging by a thread, and it responds with a Rock Tomb that drops Sasuke to 16 HP. However, thanks to Paralysis, we're guaranteed to outspeed and end this. So with one last Metal Claw, Onix goes down. We wave goodbye to the horny Rockman and march forward, ready for whatever comes next. And on the way to our next showdown, Sasuke hit the level required to evolve, so with that, we've now got a slightly bigger, slightly redder, and dare I say, slightly hunkier amphibian. Although honestly, I still have no clue what that thing on its head is. A horn? An ear? A fashion statement? Regardless, things were finally starting to look up for us on Route 3. I was down on my knees praying for either a Nidoran or a Mankey to bless our team. And someone must have heard me, because after running around for what felt like decades, we finally stumbled upon this. Oh, yo, we got the Nidoran, that's sick! Let's go! We named our new friend Bo, and without a second thought, made a beeline for Mount Moon. This is another shot at catching a new Mon, and let's be honest, I'm gonna need every Mon I can get for this. Now, this cave does have a few solid options, but we all know who I was hoping for. Unfortunately, it seems I'm burning through all my luck catching that shiny Nidoran, because who shows up? A Zubat! Yup, a Pokemon I can't even fully evolve until the post-game. See, in FireRed and LeafGreen, you're limited to the original 151 Pokemon until you complete the National Dex, even though Crobat was out by this point in the franchise. So if I actually want to use this thing, I'm gonna be stuck with a Golbat for the entire Nuzlocke. But I'm a trooper, so I named our fanged friend Spiller and soldiered through Mount Moon. So right, here we are making good progress when BAM! A Team Rocket Goon jumps out claiming that they're the region's gangsters. Oh yeah, real scary, buddy. After I gave him a very swift reality check, I kept pushing through, testing each grunt's so-called gangster status as they threw out the lineup of incredibly mid-Pokemon. Finally, after a gauntlet of pocket monster beatdowns, I came across a scientist who looks like he hasn't seen daylight or any external being in weeks. And he's convinced that I'm here to steal his fossils, and he decides that the best course of action is to duel me for them. Now, even though a few of our mons were still a bit battered, we managed to take him down. And then, as a sort of my bad for thinking that I was a rocket grunt, he offered me one of his fossils. I grabbed the Helix, not that it really matters since it won't be shiny. And finally, on the other side of the cave, we hit Route 4, where we came across 2 martial artists, gazing very intently into each other's eyes. Now, interestingly, these guys are actually quite important in this game. The one on the left teaches you Mega Punch, which we taught to Sasuke, and the one on the right teaches Mega Kick. After that, I got curious about what encounters we might find ahead, and look, I'll admit it, my obsession with finding shiny Pokemon might have played a part in this. Long story short, I stumbled across yet another Pokemon, a Spearow. So say hello to our new friend Donald. See, now I realise this video would have come out months ago if I could just control myself and not hunt at every chance that I see. After a little detour, we had a full squad of 6 shinies, and while grinding to get everyone up to the level cap, a few cool upgrades came through. Howl evolved into a Pidgeotto, Totoro became a Raticate, and both finally evolved into Nidorina. Now here's the thing, technically by this point in the game, I could have a Nidoqueen. There's a Moonstone right back in Mount Moon with Bo's name written all over it. But where I come from, you have to earn your place. Bo's gonna have to work for her crown. Now, even without a Nidoqueen, Misty wasn't entirely anything to fear. Totoro was starving and seafood was on the menu. Misty opened up with her Staryu, which Totoro snapped up in one big Hyperfang. Next came Starmie, but another Hyperfang and she was toast. No dessert needed. We walked out of the building completely and entirely unscathed. Except Totoro's hunger was still raging, so naturally I let him loose on Gary's entire team. One by one they got devoured. Toto didn't even flinch. I'm pretty sure Gary's Pokemon are still being digested as we speak. And then, right, after crossing Nugget Bridge, it happened. After just a few hours of mindlessly encountering and running from Pokemon, we finally struck gold. You see, a shiny Oddish appeared, and now this little turnip might not do much in battle yet, but a quick evolution into Gloom will make it a solid addition to the squad. On the tail end of Route 25, we broke into some guy's house, and it turns out the owner had a little mishap with one of his genius experiments and accidentally turned himself into a Pokemon. Classic, right? So, after a quick fix on his fancy machine, we managed to zap him back to human form. As a thank you gift for saving him from eternal Pokemon-dom, he handed over an SS ticket. Eventually, we landed in Vermilion City, where our next gym battle was waiting. But before taking on the Lieutenant, I had to prepare our soon-to-be star of the show. At this point, I felt that she'd earned it, so looking at the Moonstone from earlier, I evolved Bo to her final form. And now, before hitting the gym, we needed to swing by the port and board the SS Anne. Once on board, who do I run into except our old pal Algorithm? He challenged us to a battle, and I'll admit it, after totally embarrassing him last time, I went in a little bit too cocky. And, well, it came back to bite me. His Kadabra turned out to be a real problem this time, and things got a little bit dicey. It was one of those someone has to jump ship to save the rest of the team kind of moments. So, with a heavy heart, I brought in Jiro. He's been on the team for a while, but now was our time to say goodbye. Rest easy, my friend. After that, I made my way to the captain's quarters, where things got interesting. The captain was seasick. I mean, of all people, you'd think a captain would have their sea legs, right? We're literally on a boat that isn't moving. But there I was, rubbing his back, holding his hair, telling him it's gonna be okay, and in return, he handed over the HM for cut, meaning that we could finally leave the ship, give Giro the farewell he deserved, and slice our way to the gym. Now for Lieutenant Surge. He led his Voltorb, and naturally I sent out Bo. One shot, and the sentient Pokeball was down. Next up was Pikachu, who also just didn't stand a chance against Bo's dig. At this point, it was starting to look like a sweep, and Bo confirmed that by one-shotting the rest of Lieutenant Surge's team. Let's be entirely real though, a stab super effective dig from a literal dinosaur, it was kinda bound to happen. In Diglett Cave, I decided to do some shiny hunting for, well, a Diglett. What else but the ground sausage? And after spending the entire day underground, barely seeing any sunlight, we found one. But in my frantic button-mashing excitement to catch this shiny mole, disaster struck. Susuwatari, our turnip buddy, got hit by a magnitude 8 from a wild shiny mole, and yeah, that was it. Gone before its time. Look, I know I might not be doing my best, but I swear I'm trying my hardest. Anyway, I gave Susuwatari a proper farewell and welcomed our new friend Eboshi the Diglett. With her on the team, I was both horrified and thrilled to see what she was capable of in battle. With a bunch of routes to explore before the next gym, I went over to Route 10 where we stumbled upon one of my absolute favourite early gen shinies. Oh, Voltorb! Crazy! Insane! Crazy! And of course I had to name him No Face because he's literally just a face, and that made me giggle. Our next checkpoint was Lavender Town, where we made our way to the Pokemon Tower, and Mr. Al Gore was there awaiting our arrival. Finally, I could get my revenge. Did you really think I'd forgotten about Giro? Think again, you foolish fool. I will never shake the anguish and torment you brought upon me and my team. Mark my words, Al Gore, you will pay. And pay he did, quite literally. Onwards, we journeyed east from Lavender Town and reached Celadon City, but before taking on the grass gym, I had to track back for one specific Pokemon. One of the best Pokemon, Growlithe. With the other encounters all being dupes, I was expecting this to take a while, but get this, the first shiny I found was... Oh, what? Yo, I got it first try. That's so sick. With Calcifer now on the team, it was time to train. In the process, Spiller evolved into a Golbat, and Donald finally evolved into a Turkey Neck. After wiping out all the trainers in Celadon Gym and getting our team up to the level cap, it was time to face Mother Nature herself, Erica. Allied with Howl, and Erica sent out her Victory Bell. One Aerial Ace later, Victory Bell tried to stun Spore, but Howl dodged. A second Aerial Ace took down the Big Mouth, and next up was Tangela, who didn't last very long with Howl on the field. Finally, out came Vileplume, and after taking an Aerial Ace, it managed to paralyze Howl. But a Sludge Bomb did next to nothing, and Howl broke through the para to finish off the Vileplume. Easy peasy lemon cabbage. Noticing some shady grunts around Celadon, I knew something was up. After a few spins on the slots in the game corner, I spotted one of the grunts guarding a poster. I took out his team, he disappeared into the wall, and bingo, a hidden switch behind the poster led to a secret Team Rocket hideout. I worked my way through the maze, knocking out every grunt who crossed my path until I came face to face with the man himself. Giovanni, the leader of Team Rocket, black hair, handsome, buzz cut dad? He'd been traveling the world, snatching every Pokemon he could get his hands on, and it was time to stop him. I led with Bo against his Onix, which went down after 2 digs. Another couple hits took care of his Rhyhorn, but then he sent out a Kangaskhan. And this was no ordinary opponent. Mama Bear didn't go down without a fight. She tanked a double kick from Bo, then hit us with a tail whip. We went for another double kick, pushing her into the red, but after another tail whip, I knew Bo was too vulnerable to stay in. I swapped to Spiller, who took a Mega Punch on the switch, nearly knocking him down to half health. Risking the crit, I used Confuse Ray, and Mama Bear smacked herself in confusion. I took this chance to switch to Sasuke, who took a bite. We tried to return the favor with a Mega Punch, but it missed, and we took another bite. Finally, Sasuke connected with a Mega Punch, but it did way less than I'd hoped. Kanga had been hit in the frickin' gym. However, one more Mega Punch was enough to bring down Giovanni's last defender, and with that, the only real gangster in this place was defeated. With Team Rocket out the picture, my next mission was to track back and scale Pokemon Tower back in Lavender Town. I also stopped to catch myself a new team member as well. Yes, a ground type, let's go, that's massive, that's massive. While exploring the tower, I heard a ghostly voice whispering at me to get out, so naturally, I walked straight towards it, because when has a disembodied voice ever stopped me? Well, suddenly I'm battling a ghost that turns out to be a Marowak from beyond the grave. And after sending it back to whence it came, I made my way to the top of the tower where a group of Team Rocket grunts was busy harassing a defenseless old man and his Pokemon. Classic gangster behavior. So we handled the dimwits and freed the old guy who introduced himself as Mr. Fuji. Turns out he'd come to the tower to calm the spirit of Cubone's mother, who, I don't think she's gonna be a problem anymore, mate. Back at Mr. Fuji's place, he hands me the Pokéfute as a token of appreciation, and guess what? That's exactly the item I needed to move that pesky hooligan Snorlax out of the way to get to Fuchsia City. Convenient, right? Now, before taking on the Fuchsia gym, I leveled up the team, and that meant Sasuke finally evolved into a Charizard. Look at this shiny. Why could they not have made the whole line like this? Chef's kiss. Howl evolved into a Pidgeot, and No Face into Electrode. Our team's looking beautiful, and we're ready. Inside the gym, I made my way through the invisible maze without any issues, and with the team mostly fully evolved, I was pumped to see how they'd do against Koga. See, Koga started with his coughing, so I sent out Bo, who let off a lovely Mega Horn doing some decent damage. Coughing hit us with a smoke screen, dropping our accuracy. We went for another Mega Horn, tanked a weak Sludge, but then Bo missed. And guess what Coughing decided to do next? Freaking self-destruct, bro! Ah! It's fine. Bo somehow survived with 46 HP and just about avoided disaster there. Next, Koga sent out his Muck, so we decided to dig underground to dodge its acid armor. Thankfully, a crit took out the gunk pile in one shot. Koga threw in another Coughing, and with fresh PTSD, I immediately switched to Sasuke. One flamethrower took it out. His last Pokemon was wheezing, and unfortunately for him, it couldn't handle the heat, going down to but a single flamethrower. Not gonna lie, for a 5th gym leader, Koga's team was pretty bumcheeks. Moving on, to get to Saffron City where the next gym was waiting, I had to go on a bit of a goose chase. Firstly, to talk to a guy in the Pokemon fan club for a bike voucher, then to cash it in, then to grab the HM for Fly from some girl on Route 16, then to get some tea from an old lady in Celadon Mansion, and finally to bribe the guard on the east of town. Only then could we gain access to Saffron City. I didn't have to look too hard to see that Team Rocket had pretty clearly taken over the Silph Co, so I evolved a few Pokemon, and while trying to figure out what they were up to, I ran into Al Gore. Turns out Mr. Idham and I have some beef. No matter what I do, he's never satisfied, so I challenged him to yet another battle. I led Eboshi against his Pidgeot and took a chunk out of his health bar with Slash. It then hit back with a Feather Dance. One more Slash with a lucky crit took it down. Al Gore brought in Blastoise, so I pivoted over to No Face, taking a bit of damage from Water Gun on the switch. A single Spark hit Blastoise hard, but not quite hard enough. Another Water Gun left No Face in the orange. He stalled with Protect, and then Chaos, Pandemonium. I went for Tackle to finish him off, and missed with no accuracy drops. And that let Blastoise get in a Water Gun that left No Face on 5 HP. Freaking yikes. Knowing that I outspeed though, I risked it, and this time Tackle landed, taking out the turtle. Al Gore then sent out his Growlithe, so I switched to our newly evolved Marowak, who I forgot to name. Oops. Anyway, Growlithe's Flame Wheel did almost nothing, so we answered with a Bone Meringue and Okode. Then Al Gore threw out his Execute. With Marowak a bit low on health, I swapped to Howl, who got paralysed off the rip by a Stun Spore, but no biggie. Confusion barely touched him, and Howl wiped out the scrambled eggs with Aerial Ace. Al Gore's final Pokemon was a whole Alakazam. It opened with Future Sight, putting us on a bit of a timer. Aerial Ace then brought it down to a third of his health, and for some reason it tried to Future Sight again and failed. Howl then finished the job with one last Aerial Ace, avoiding the Future Sight damage altogether. So with Al Gore out of the way, I fought through the rest of the hideout, eventually finding Giovanni yet again at the heart of it. He claimed to be striking some shady under the table deals with the Silph Co president, but not on my watch. I thrashed him so badly it wasn't even worth narrating. This guy got absolutely swept. Giovanni left Silph Co with his fists clenched, and I thought nothing of it and pressed on. Another day, another city saved by the most handsome, tall, buff trainer to ever grace the Kanto region. With Saffron saved from Team Rocket's chaos, we're free to challenge the Saffron Gym. Just before our battle, the gym leader actually casually mentions that she dislikes battling, which, like, interesting career choice then, no? But her lack of passion for Pokemon was painfully obvious. I basically spammed Flamethrower with Sasuke the entire battle, and it was over before I even broke a sweat. Who approved you for this role? I think they need to be fired, much like you were. With a victorious strut in my step, I strolled over to the Safari Zone's secret house. Apparently I won a prize for being the first person to find it. The prize was a Surf HM, and with that in hand, I made my way back to Pallet Town, determined to fish for my next encounter. After what might have been my entire weekend virtually fishing, I finally landed a shiny horsey. We caught it and named it Fujimoto. Not only that, but we taught it surf, and so riding my seahorse, we surfed down to Cinnabar Island only to find the gym building locked. So I paid a visit to the Pokemon Mansion where pushing a few buttons on some Mewtwo statues unlocked a desk that was withholding the very key required to unlock the gym. So I beelined for Cinnabar, and after totally not googling a few quiz answers, I was ready to face Blaine. Said no, Blaine's mustache is genuinely hypnotic, but I somehow managed to stay focused. He opened with a Growlithe and Bo took it out with a single dig. Then came Ponyta, who survived a dig and landed a Fire Blast, but Bo outsped the next turn, taking it down. Blaine then brought out his Rapidash, a family duo. How nice. But with no remorse, we handled the stallion just as quickly as its child, dodging its Fire Blast and wiping it out with a dig. Now, it was Arcanine's turn, but Arcanine wasn't going to make it easy. A Fire Blast almost took out Bo, which called for a switch. Fujimoto jumped in, barely surviving a Fire Blast. Then, to my surprise, we outsped with a Surf for the KO. Fujimoto, you might have unsettling lips, but you're earning your keep. With no real side quest before the final gym, I dashed straight to Viridian for a spot of carnage. Giovanni, the double life mob boss gym leader, was ready to face me yet again, this time in the confines of the 8th gym. He opened with Rhyhorn, and Fujimoto took it out with a single Surf in a single turn. Next came in Dugtrio, which Fujimoto also outspeeds and obliterated. The Dinosaur, one shot. Its wife showed up, another Surf, another KO. Giovanni, what the hell was that? For the head of a criminal syndicate, I expected more, mate. Embarrassing. From there, I made my way to Fuchsia City, gave a gold tooth to a very grateful warden, and received a HM for strength in return. And now, with every HM in hand, it was time to tackle Victory Road. We only made it to Route 22 though, before getting interrupted by our rival. He was but a blip on my radar though. I breezed through his team like it was nothing. After a brutal and intense journey through Victory Road, we finally reached the Elite Four. Our final team consisting of Sasuke, Fujimoto, Howl, Bo, No Face, and Totoro. We were ready to take on Lorelei. Now, Lorelei, the so-called Ice Queen, had 5 Pokemon. She led her Dugong, but No Face's Spark cut it down fast. After Cloyster's Protect shenanigans, another Spark was 2 for 2. Slowbro took a Spark and retaliated with a strong Surf, but a second one outsped and put it down. Lorelei's Lapras put up a fight, paralysing Totoro, but a Shockwave, some lucky breaks, and a lot of perseverance later, we managed to KO. With our final Pokemon Jinx, Lorelei left herself wide open to Sasuke's Flamethrower. Good riddance. I really honestly hate Jinx. It's so uncomfortable to look at. Next up was Bruno, and we wasted no breaths. His Onix went down to a Fujimoto Hydro Pump. Hitmonchan came in, took a hit before falling to both's Earthquake. Bruno's Machamp didn't stand a chance against Fujimoto's Crit Surf, and finally Hitmonlee met Sasuke, who handled it with grace. Another another victory and no deaths in the Elite Four run so far. We're on a roll. Next up was Agatha, and like, even her name sounds old. Imagine baby Agatha. She led a pretty terrifying Gengar, but Sasuke's flamethrower and wing attack took it down. With the Golbat, Totoro managed to handle that quite easily with a Thunderbolt. Then after a few tense back and forths, Agatha's second Gengar was finally KO'd by Fujimoto. We bested the Ice Queen, taking down a heavyweight and outlasting a senior citizen. Bring on Lance. Now Lance's team was intimidating, but Totoro quickly took down the leading Gyarados. Aerodactyl's Hyper Beam was a close call for Fujimoto, but he managed to counter it with a Surf. We then managed to quell both Dragonairs to a Blizzard and Ice Beam sequentially, and even Lance's Dragonite went down without a lot of fuss. So now, right, it's high time to face the champion. Entering the final showdown with, really, Algor again? Ugh, fine. I chose Totoro against his Pidgeot. After a Thunderbolt and a Lucky Para, Pidgeot went down. Alakazam came in, took a Strength, foresaw an attack, but Totoro managed to somehow hold on and knock it out. Executor wasn't going to be an issue since Sasuke's flamethrower could make quick work of it. Then came Blastoise. I brought Howl in, but after a sudden attack, Blastoise's Hydro Pump got a crit, ending Howl's journey at the very end. Good lord. Switching to Fujimoto, I managed to freeze Blastoise, but it thawed out, and beyond that, after an array of back and forth attacks, Blastoise got a Rain Dance off, and eventually landed a critical hit Hydro Pump that also ended Fuji's journey. We might not actually make it through this. I brought in Totoro, and a Thunderbolt cut combo ended Blastoise's rampage in its tracks. However, Totoro wasn't quite able to take it all the way either. Rhydon stepped on us, and in this position there are only two Pokemon left alive, Bolt and Sasuke. For obvious reasons, Sasuke is just not an option, and so Bolt it is. Things are getting slightly sweaty, but an Earthquake managed to do a lot of damage, and after they used a full restore, we managed to get 2 off, KOing the beast. Finally, Arcanine. We got intimidated, but an Earthquake still did a hefty amount of damage, and it was all down to this flamethrower. But we survived! A final Earthquake took the kill, and with it, champion status was ours. Mr. Oak came through and took me to the champion room. I placed my Pokemon on the healing machine, and with that, we took our victory. That was so much tighter than I thought it would be. Heck yeah though, we actually did it. Thank you so much for watching. YouTube seems to think that you'll love this video, so go watch it. Tell me if they were correct.